Okay, so I guess everyone here is looking for their BA, and they're looking for using that knowledge and information that you acquire during your education years when you get your profession, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah. You wouldn't get a BA without having to use it afterwards. But that's not the case with undocumented students who were brought here at a very young age. They can come to school, they can graduate, they can have a BA, but they cannot work. They cannot use that BA afterwards. So my claim is that the Federal Dream Act would have brought economical and social improvements to the U.S. in the long run. And to explain that, I'm going to argue that educated people contribute to the society, to the overall quality of society, by decreasing crime rates and increasing the education level. So they become the thinkers of the new century, if you want to say that. They are going to bring back to the society everything that they've learned during their lives in here. The second argument that I'm going to use to prove is that people who graduate from 2- or 4-year institutions or who pursue higher education, they are more likely to have a better paying job. And with that better paying job, they're going to invest money back into the economy. So, to support the fact that educated people contribute to the overall quality of society by reducing crime rates, I have a study by a professor at Western Ontario University in Canada, and in his research, he said that there's a relatively large literature linking wages and unemployment rates to criminal behavior. He said, to the extent that education increases wage rates and reduces the likelihood of employment, and it increases the opportunity costs of crime. In this case, in his study, he defined the opportunity cost of a crime as whatever the person had to lose by committing a crime. If you're educated, you're less likely to commit a simple crime because you have more to lose. You have your whole life, you have your education, and you're just not going to send that away. And for the social aspect of it, the improvements of it, imagine that everyone in the society is educated. So you would have people obeying traffic laws much more than that. You would have people putting that knowledge back into society as developing new technologies. When our governor, Jerry Brown, was signing the California Dream Act, the second part, he said that going to college is a dream that promises intellectual excitement and creative thinking. And that's the social part of it, because if you have creative thinking, you are able to produce much more and apply that knowledge back into society. The second support argument is that people who graduate from a higher education institution, 2 or 4 years, they're more likely to have better paying jobs and invest their money in the economy. And it's funny because the U.S. Census last year, established that males with a high school diploma would earn about $43,000 a year. But that same individual with a bachelor's degree or more would earn an average of $93,000 a year. That's an increase of $50,000 per individual per year going straight back to the economy. So you have a greater buying power, so you're more likely to buy non-luxury or non-necessity or luxury items, and the economy needs that. The economy needs people putting money on it so it can keep running. So the second part of the second claim is that it would increase also tax revenues. And by increasing tax revenues, we would allow those individuals to pay income taxes on the money. So if you pay income taxes of a $43,000 salary, and versus a $93,000 salary, you're paying much more taxes on that second half. And that would go back to the economy. In the course of 40 years, the UCLA did a research on that and an analysis of how the DREAM Act would affect society overall. And they established that $3.6 trillion would be generated over the course of 40 years if those students who are undocumented right now would have a path to citizenship, and they would be able to pay income taxes as well as all other taxes. And I will finish off with a quote from John Kennedy, our 35th president. He said, let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there's a private hope and dream which fulfilled can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for the nation. So what I want to say is that enacting the DREAM Act would make the United States much better by increasing or decreasing crime rates and increasing the social and cultural behavior of individuals. And to define that, I said my arguments were that educated people contribute to the overall qualities by decreasing crime rates and increasing the overall quality of society, and that people who graduate from a 2- or 4-year university, they would have better paying jobs, and that would help the economy. So, thank you.
All right, the topics I did very clearly. It's phrased as a claim of fact. It's a little complicated because it's a conditional statement. The preview I didn't think was as sharp as the secondary issues were, and one of the problems is that both of the supporting points have these long, complicated sentences in describing them. When you get to the body of the speech, you're usually able to kind of paraphrase and summarize what they are. So that's what makes it easier to follow internally than at the beginning of the speech. I thought you had very good data on the economic benefits long term, although I think we need to have a clearer explanation of what UCLA's research took into consideration, and you have an explanation about the impact on crime, although the link between going to college and the DREAM Act and crime, I think, is 3 steps that each needs to be quantified to some degree. I think the general idea there is probably something that people will see as being valid. Some of the other claims that you make about the impact it's going to have on our socialization, our innovation, our ability to think, those kinds of things, I think that that's a little bit of a stretch. The closest you get to having anything about that is the quote from the governor that talks about, making their dreams and, they'll innovate, and it's a nice platitude, but it doesn't. We don't have any examples or any reason to believe that that platitude is any more valid than the kinds of condemnations that you might get from somebody who's opposed to this. I thought the presentation was relatively solid, and like I said, you could cite your information a little bit more clearly. The crime study and the UCLA study are cited adequately, but there's some other stuff in there that just seems like it's assumed instead of being cited. So you want to do that too. All right, thank you.